Alright. Now, hello again. Still Stump, and I'm going to be doing Crash 2 80% No Game Over Abuse. I was able to get this going really quickly because I'm actually doing this on separate hardware than from the Spyro run. Once we get out of demo mode, I can start the run. I'll say more about that once we start the run. This is another time when we start the timer on game control, so I will count down to when that is.
Crash Bandicoot 2 Vortex
Let's do this.
Strikes.
Alright, and 3, 2, 1, start time. I forgot to start my own timer. I just remember that I have to add a little bit to it, but here we are in Crash 2. And I wasn't expecting to bounce off of that. So that's why I ended up body slamming. The same button that slides is the body slam button when you're in the air, so if I'm off the ground when I don't think I am, I will body slam and lose a tiny bit of time. But anyway, we start right off with one of the standard platforming type levels that we have in Crash. Already doing some speed movement and other tricks like that glitch high jump there. So what I did there was I did a slide jump and spun right after jumping. That makes the jump go a little tiny bit higher and get you to things that you are not supposed to be able to get to, such as getting out of one of those pits without defeating the enemies that spawn in it and causing the spawning of a little trampoline to get you out. And I did not get third mask from there. The reason that I did not get third mask from there is that it actually slows you down. Stacking up 3 masks does give you temporary invincibility, but it also does really weird things to the relative speeds of certain types of movement, and most notably causes there to barely be anything that is anywhere near as fast as the movement I'm doing now, which is the neutral slide spin, which I probably should say a bit more about. So, the fastest form of movement along ground under ordinary conditions is the sliding attack. But there's a cooldown on it, and that causes it not to, that causes repeated sliding not to be worth it. But if you let go of the directional button, and then you spin at the end of your slide, you continue moving at sliding speed, but the slide cooldown does run. So you can move pretty much continuously at sliding speed. You can't get anywhere near that speed under ordinary conditions in third mask form. It actually turns out that the fastest way of moving along ground in third mask form is to crawl. There we have an example of hitting a third mask when you're on either some kind of vehicle or special movement, causing the third mask not to do anything, and the Aku Aku box just breaks like any other box would. We need that! I guess I should mention a bit about this category, and what is how it differs from others. So this is 80% no game over abuse. The no game over abuse thing is to keep us, is to not do something that greatly changes the game from like the spirit of going through all of the levels. Instead, we are just going to enter all the levels, get their crystals, and exit them in a conventional manner. What the game over abuse thing does, if you leave a level if you game over, you respawn in the warp room. But you keep any pending collectibles you had. So it does turn out you can save time by going into some levels and getting to their crystals and intentionally game overing, and then eventually finishing a level, and leaving a level in the usual way, and at which point you are credited with all those crystals. But it is... Oh, this isn't Hundo. Why did I try to backtrack there? And the things that 100% has to get that this doesn't are all the gems and all of the secret warp room entrances. Those do count as percent. And every 5 levels, thus every 5 crystals, there will be a boss. So this is a level of a type that we haven't seen before. This is a boulder level, where we have to... okay, the animation skip. So if you are not sliding, or if you're not moving at slide speed when you're in one of those little houses, Crash does a little animation of tumbling forward as though he just barely made it out like away from that boulder. And that takes some time and slows you down and causes you to lose control of Crash for a bit while he dramatically escapes from the boulder that was never anywhere near actually catching up to him because we're neutral slide spinning. So we just have to keep that movement up to ensure that we don't get that animation. We have those little boost pads there that accelerate you at pretty much sliding speed. That's because with casual movement, that's the animation that I needed to skip, and I got it twice. It can be tough to avoid it at the end of the level because you have to jump into the, like, through that door, and then you have a... If you don't start sliding immediately upon landing, you will get that animation. Anyway, this is Ripperoo, the first boss, where he hops around the arena, leaving behind TNTs that explode and hit him, and then the same thing happens with nitro squares. And that will then leave him vulnerable to be hit. You have to hit him 3 times. The patterns are completely fixed. So I just knew that's where I had to be standing. That's 2 hits. And for this third one, you'll see that the safe areas are pretty small. I've always enjoyed how standing here for this can get Crash into a kind of animation that causes him to open his eyes wider and look behind him right as things start exploding. But that is one warp room. There are 4 more. So Snowbiz is another snow level. This one has a lot more ice than Snowgo had. Ooh, I jumped over it. I should have. That's better. So these porcupines, if you approach them at casual movement speed, they will have their spikes fully extended by the time you get to them, and thus be harmful to touch. But at neutral slide spin speed, you win that race. So you can largely proceed as though the porcupine wasn't there. Then we have Air Crash. This is another river level, sort of like Hang 8. Speaking of which, I should have mentioned, you may have noticed a timer running during much of Hang 8. That timer there's one of the gems in that level you get by essentially beating the clock. Something that's not a problem for a runner to do, but that's what that was. It actually resulted in us needing to actively avoid the gem at the end of the level, because that would just waste time. And there was a nitro that I passed there in the river a little bit before the first barrier I jumped over. It's one that I like to call the any% nitro, because any% is the only category where you actually get to see it. In 100%, the first time you do that level, you go into the death route and exit through the death route, and the second time you do the secret entrance path, which has the nitro switch in it, so that nitro is not there when you are actually passing that area in 100%. Anyway, the next level is a new type of level. This is a bear level. Crash is riding Polar the bear. Polar moves forward continuously, so hope you don't miss a box in 100%, especially in the particularly tough arrangements that exist at the end. This also means that the movement speed is largely fixed, so these levels are essentially an auto-scroller for the most part. But through some boosting and jumping at the right time, you can increase a little bit. That set of 3 boxes, which I figured I would get just because those are one of the tougher parts of getting 100% in this level. You gotta time your zigzagging between them and have the right positioning. Anyway, Crash Crush, another boulder level. One that will introduce some new mechanics with these. Although first we just have to... Okay. describe that. So a lot of the chases have those mines that don't actually hurt you, but launch you into the air and give you and slow you down, possibly enough for the boulder to catch up to you. But we have those electric barriers that I slid under. In this level, you can both the slide and the spin part of the neutral slide spin lower your hitbox enough to get you under them. That is not true when those reappear in Unbearable in the third workroom. There you have to be on the sliding portion of the neutral slide spin to make it under them. That's the end of that boulder area. Can't even see the boulder anymore. Then we got this final boulder here. You can see the game is being very generous with boost pads. And that's because, like Crash Dash, they put boxes that are going to take a bit of time to get casually, and you'll just barely avoid getting crushed. Specifically, that's that. I don't remember where I was going with that. Oh, specifically that wood box with the metal framing around it needs to be body slammed to be open. And as we've seen, body slamming keeps you effectively in place for a bit. Anyway, this is the Eel Deal, the first sewer level we have. The effect of that branching path there was that we just had to sort of dip to the left side to get the crystal that's in it. And then we have this grid that Crash is hanging from with his arms. You can see that, the movement across it's a bit slow. In a later level of this type, I have no mass, I am just going to not risk anything there. Oh, I forgot to split for the previous level. Anyway, that is another 5 crystals, so we are ready for another boss. This is the Komodo Brothers. So one brother will send the other spinning and bouncing around the arena. Eventually, the other brother will stop. You spin and that one into the other, and then some swords are thrown. And those swords just start at the same direction that the other brother is and go 3/4 of the way around the arena counterclockwise. So phase 3 is the final hit we have to deliver here, with the added complication of there being more knives being thrown at you. But, you went to throw that one, but finished. That's because the other brother had gotten into opportunity to stop at an allowable position mode. But that is very nice. So, plant food. Another river level. This one has another timer gem, much like Hang 8 did. I am amazed I actually made that jump. And that one. Anyway, there's that timer. we will have no trouble. I remembered at just the last moment I have no masks and needed to ensure I did not hit those mines. Anyway, you'll see that sort of like we did at the end of Hang 8, the timer gem will spawn. In this case it'll be the yellow gem, but we're going to not get it because that would just waste time in the workroom. Because if I don't time my boosting right there, which I did not, then I need to use that mask to get through this. And if I didn't have a mask coming into that, there's that yellow gem because we beat the time by 14 seconds. With casual movement, you just barely make it. Anyway, Sewer Invader, as you might expect from the name, is another sewer level. And this one's going to add a few things that we'll get to in just a little bit, like these lab assistants using blowtorches. Those attacks have a... blowtorch attack is a very wide hitbox, and it's, some of them you can squeeze around them, but it's precise. Then you also have these high-speed fans. I just decided to tank a hit through them, but if you line yourself up right, which I did not there, you can get through some of them. Like with there are setups for some of them where you can move through them without being hit by them. Anyway, there's another spot where, like in the Eel Deal, the crystal is down the left path, so we have to dip down that left path, and then the rest of the level's down the right path. We'll just use our masks to tank the hits from these blowtorch enemies and get to the end of the level. And the reason I felt okay spending my masks to do that was that we have Bear Down, a bear level next, and you cannot take masks into those. So, there are a couple things added to this. I think we'll be coming up to the first one of them soon. Pairs of lab assistants raising and lowering a row of steel crates. Don't hit them. But where those cycles line up with your movement is consistent, so I'll know which ones will always be up and which ones will always be down at the time I get to them. That would bear down. And this level is a type of level that we haven't gotten to before. This is Road to Ruin, a ruin level. These are almost entirely a bottomless pit, just with platforms to use to navigate across. Some of the platforms crumble. I tried to do a glitch high jump there to get over the fire, but I instead did a glitch low jump, where if you do that spin at the same time that you jump lower than usual. Sometimes for movement optimization, particularly at ends of levels, that's actually a useful thing to do. But in this case, I wanted the high jump because it would have gotten me over the fire. So, unbearable. That sounds like it might be a bear level. And it is in some sense. It's more of a boulder level, but with bears. Also, the electric barriers that you may remember from Crash Rush are slightly lower in this level, and you do need to actually be on the slide portion of the neutral slide spin to not get hit by them. There's a secret side path down that pit there, but we don't need that in any category other than unknown. And it turns out that this is a bear level after all. Big bear meets little bear as we do this final chase portion. So the polar actually moves like back towards the a little way back in that area. If you go back there, that is one of the secret warp room entrances. But that's another 5 crystals, so it is time for another boss. This is Tiny Tiger. This is probably the largest presence of RNG in this game. At some point, 3 of these platforms are going to drop. And then more platforms will drop once Tiny falls, leaving 3 platforms there. Which platforms drop is RNG. Hopefully they drop in useful places, especially in the later phases, where in this case only 2 platforms are going to drop. And we managed to get 0 extra hops there. Phase 3 is the tricky one, because only 1 platform will drop. And if it's a corner, like it was there, it is exceedingly difficult to force Tiny over a corner. And then continuing the pattern, only 1 other platform survives. So I had to make sure that's the one I was on. That is 3 warp rooms finished out of 5. So, this warp room. This is one where we're not going to do the levels in order. And that is because there is one special case where you do want third mask form. And we need to get it by bringing 2 masks into that level, because there is only 1 mask box in that level. So we do another level first to bring 2 masks out of it. So this is Digging It. There's our second mask. You gotta not lose any of these because those are the only 2 mask boxes in the level. But you can see the explosive fruit being spat towards me by those piranha plant-like things. I am amazed I did not get hit there. Spinning protects you from some things, such as the explosions of those fruit. So you'll often see me spin as I'm about to land on a place where there is fruit. Also, there are bees. So when you pass a beehive, bees will, in this level only one bee, will come out of it and chase you. And as long as you're within that hive's zone, which goes up until some upcoming pit, but not necessarily the first full-width pit that is past the beehive. Well, once you pass that pit, the bees will leave you alone. But you might also notice that the bee that comes out of the hives here moves pretty slowly, and it's pretty straightforward to just spin away if it does end up catching up to you. There are levels where that's... well, the other level where bees appear, that is not the case. But anyway, that is digging it, and we did bring 2 masks out of it, so we can get that 3rd mask form that we want. And we do that in Hanging Out. This is another sewer level. Remember not to just push forward there, because there is that blowtorch lab assistant who will be more than happy to take away one of those masks and defeat the whole purpose of bringing 2 masks into here. Or that can do that. Anyway, we will no longer be able to use 3rd mask form in here, but I was going to say I'll just tank that hit, but I ended up not getting hit. So I would have gotten 3rd mask form off of that mask box. And what that would have let me do is let me have 3rd mask form on these hanging grids. You move very fast along them in 3rd mask form, and I don't have to worry about avoiding these red-hot spiky things that are moving around them. So 3rd mask form actually saves you time in that area and nowhere else in the game. So we dropped down to another like inside pipes area. How that hit me, didn't hit me, I don't know. And that brings us to the end of that level. I ended up, due to missing out on 3rd mask form, losing about 15 seconds compared to that level in my PB splits. Anyway, our next level, Ruination. Another ruin level. This one has... one of the things about it is it reproduces a lot of the box arrangements from Road to... So I accidentally pressed up a bit there. And got an extended slide there. Anyway, it reproduces some box arrangements from Road to Ruin, but with some nitros mixed in. So I did that death there to reset cycles. Since there are a few checkpoints where... you, like, that warp ring animation doesn't happen when you respawn at them. That's one of them. And you're just immediately able to move from the checkpoint and keep playing. So that's why I death warp from it to reset the cycles, because it ends up being a net positive. Something I never knew as a kid. You can spin those logs. When I first started watching runs of this game and found that out, it's difficult to describe how I felt. Anyway, this is Cold Hard Crash. This is a snow level. This is probably the longest and largest level in the game. It has the most boxes. In 100% we do a box duplication glitch because otherwise there's a very long and annoying backtrack you have to do. But here we'll just take the level as it happens. With a slight, oh, I hope I don't get, okay. I made sure that I did not get the third mask there. We're actually going to do the death route here. So, a death route with, you may have seen, that's weird. So you may have seen in a few previous levels a platform with a skull and crossbones on it. That platform takes you to a side path and is only there if you have not died in the level since the level loaded. Normally they're just there to be a source of a gem, which we'll jump over in this case to not waste time in the warp room. But that bypassed a decently long section of the main part of the level that I actually, like, at least with speed strats, feel is easier than the death route is. So that's why even in any percent we do that death route. $155 boxes, that is quite a lot. So here we are with Behaving, another bee level. There's an example of spinning to avoid damage from the explosive fruit, but you can see the beehives are larger. You probably haven't gotten a good chance. Oh, there we go. The bees sound louder. There are a lot more bees. They move faster. You can still, even on anything but the final area, oops, you can still outrun them with neutral slide spinning, but you very much cannot with casual movement. That is why there's that darker colored ground. If you spin on it, you burrow under it. Continue past the end of it. Alright, this is the final part here. We don't have a mask, so I'm just going to throw under that. I managed to hit one of the bees into the nitro switch, so that dealt with the nitros, and that is behaving. I'm getting word we're still $15 away from Mystery Game 1. I hope we get there. Anyway, it was another 5 crystals, so we have another boss. This is Engine. This is probably the boss fight that has the most to it. Both of those are 2 hits away from dying. Okay, so phase 1, the hands. Phase 2 is the shoulders. So You may notice I made sure I okay, 1 and 4. The shoulders take 5 hits, the hands take 10. Okay, 3 and 4. Good, double shoulders. So I want to get both hands and both shoulders at the same time, because if I only get one of them, that resets the movement cycle, the attack movement cycle that Engine does, and also gives the remaining hand or shoulder additional hits. Missing double hands or double shoulders is something you do not want to do. You may also have noticed that Engine may be moving a bit slower than you're used to seeing. That is because I'm playing on the PAL version. The reason for that is that Crash, many forms of movement are a little faster and the jump is a little bit higher, a slight overcompensation for the lower frame rate. And the way that that lines up with certain like the way certain other forms of movement line up with the like where Crash actually is at each frame causes there to be a PAL-specific skip in the jetpack levels, which are the next level is the first one of those that we'll be doing. Another nice thing about the PAL version is Crash's body slam hitbox is a little bit larger, which makes it faster to deal with the... there's a good number of places where there are 4 stacks of boxes next to each other which have body slam boxes in them. Also, those lab assistant screams are the best. When you knock them down a bit. But with the NTSC hitbox, Crash can only body slam 3 adjacent stacks of boxes at once. In PAL, Crash can do 4. Chat asks why they carry shields 2 feet taller than they are. I don't know. But the height of those shields will come in handy in level 25. So this is Rocket, our first jetpack level. So I can, since this is any percent, I can just push forward and just to avoid things. Okay, YOLO mode activated since I didn't get that checkpoint. Anyway, see that enemy there? If you're supposed to hit them twice, once to knock them closer to the plasma field, and then another time to knock them into the plasma field. It turns out that on the PAL version, if you just push forward as you're delivering the first hit, you pass right through the enemy. And since you're never supposed to actually get past the enemy, the plasma field isn't actually set up to harm you. So that's Rocket. We're getting pretty close to the end of this, just 3 levels of the boss fight left, so I'd really like to see that mystery game. Do we still need another 15 for that to happen? Anyway, back to the game. This is Night Fight. This is a dark level where we need to have these fireflies light our way. And the length of time that they will follow you as you get them is set such that you just barely get to the next one with the light from the previous one if you move forward continuously at ordinary, casual speed. So the amount of time of overlap that I have two of the fireflies is a nice way of visualizing how much time we're saving by neutral slide spinning. Still at 10 out of $25 for that Mystery Game 1. Time is running out to make that happen. Like, I just have 2 levels here and then the boss fight. Anyway, this is Pack Attack, another jetpack level. For some reason, this game... There are a good number of times where a new level type is introduced, like this or the B levels, and there are 2 levels of that type, and they're in the same warp room. PAL specific skips for the win. Ring of Nitros. Oh, I would have 2 masks when I hit this box. But since I'm in special form of movement, nothing happens. There's no third mask form. So yet again, I had an opportunity to break a mask box and have absolutely nothing happen. There was our last time we were seeing the specific skip against that type of enemy. 1 more level left. Spaced Out. This is where the height of those shields comes into play. Well, in a particular section earlier in this. Also, these platforms, the sides of those are actually harmful. I meant to be spinning there. And we'll 3D jump around that. So, in this little area, we find ourselves behind a pane of glass. Oh look, a shield enemy. Well, with a glitch high jump, you can bounce off the top of them and get on top of the glass. And thus not have to deal with what lies below. So those enemies, like the one I just slid down onto, you're intended to need to slide into them. The mechanic is it's actually called out in the manual as they have harmful neck. Jumping on them won't work, but for some reason sliding down onto them from above still works. Anyway, that is 25 crystals. That is all of the crystals, so it is time for the final boss fight, which is probably the most anticlimactic one in any Crash game. It's a jetpack level. I chase Cortex, I spin him 3 times, that's it. There's 1 hit, time will be on the 3rd hit. There's 2. And time.
No! You haven't seen the last of me, Crash Bandicoot!
So, that is Crash 2, any percent no game over abuse.
Crash,
Thanks
what do you
so
suppose
much
happened to
for
Cortex?
watching that, and
what about
Spyro,
the Cortex Vortex?
thanks so much for
It's still
having
up
me
there.
on here to do both of those runs. Thanks for the GGs. I'll see you at some other marathon I end up doing these runs for.
Nice job, really nice job. Is there any last shout outs you'd like to give? Any little tips of the cap?
Sure. Shoutouts to the Crash and Spyro communities. They're wonderful communities.
Okay, brevity is the soul of wit.